Hey, welcome to Kstet Recap. Today I am going to narrate a movie about a couple who were supposed to play adult game that eventually turned into a survival game. The movie is called Gerald's Game. Gerald and Jesse are a couple. On the weekend they went to the beach house to spend their couple time. As they neared the villa they encountered a stray dog in the middle of the road. Jesse was compassionate towards the dog and took out beef from the fridge to feed it. When they arrived at the villa, watching Jesse feed the dog with the Kobe beef that he bought at a cost of $200, Gerald was heartbroken, but he did not blame Jesse but only tenderly complimented Jesse's kindness. Then they went back to the house to prepare for the romantic project. Gerald also took Viagra and Jesse put on her new sexy pajamas. Then Gerald brought 2 pairs of handcuffs, handcuffing Jesse's hands to the shelves on each side of the bed. They were going to do something exciting. For this reason Gerald deliberately found this villa with no one around, and could let Jesse scream at will. After years of marriage, Jesse had not expected Gerald to have this hobby. Although she was uncomfortable, she kept smiling and pretending to scream for help. But as time went by, Jesse grew more and more resistant to the game. Eventually Jesse could not take it anymore. She got angry and refused to proceed any further, but Gerald took his wife's reaction as enjoying the character. It was not until Jesse began to freak out that Gerald realized his wife really didn't like this game. He began to get upset. They began to discuss the problems that existed between them. Years of marriage had worn away the passion between them. In order to save their relationship they came here, but Jesse never expected that Gerald would want to play such a creepy game. Jesse knew exactly what their problem was, and it was not a lack of passion at all. She told her husband to untie himself first, but Gerald was halfway through the game and did not want to stop. He was angry at Jesse's reluctance to try something new, so he refused to help his wife loosen up the handcuffs. Unexpectedly, just then Gerald had a heart attack and collapsed right on top of Jesse. Jesse used his feet to hold his husband up and tried to wake him up, but she did not control her strength and Gerald was kicked straight off the bed and collapsed. Soon there was blood on the ground. Panicked Jesse began to scream for help, but until dusk Jesse's cries for help only attracted the stray dog that she fed before. To her surprise, the stray dog tried to eat Gerald's body. Under Jesse's threat the stray dog retreated a few steps, but when the stray dog found that Jesse could not hurt it at all, it began to chew on Gerald's arm. How Jesse wished Gerald could get up because of pain, but as she glanced at her husband still lying on the ground, she helplessly began to look back on the marriage and the relationship between them. She had heard with her own ears that her lawyer husband had deliberately insulted women in order to get close to his clients. He said that the reason women exist is only to satisfy the male desire to vent. Jesse pretended not to hear it and never argued with Gerald about it. She knew that her husband was no longer interested in her because he was cheating on her. Jesse still chose to bury these things and pretend that nothing had happened until now. Jesse still wants to submit to her husband. She wanted to please her husband, while Gerald never really opened his heart to Jesse, although in the eyes of others their life is very happy. They are a model couple, but in fact the marriage was like a comfortable pair of shackles that made Jessie lose herself in every step of forbearance. As the handcuffs, now she will slowly die of dehydration if she is not released. The instinct to survive made Jessie start to save herself, but no matter how hard she tried, her feet could not reach the phone. Suddenly Jessie remembered the glass of water that Gerald had placed on the partition above her head. She jacked up the side of the partition and let the glass slide to the side before she successfully got the glass, but because her arms were short Jessie still could not drink water. Thinking that she had just put the tag of her new pajamas on the partition, Jessie touched the tag and rolled it into a straw. In this way the water shortage problem was temporarily alleviated. To keep his strength, Jessie took a nap. When she woke up she found a strange-looking man standing in the corner. The moonlight man opened a bag full of bones and jewels. It seemed that death was here. Jessie closed her eyes and told herself that none of this was real. It was only her deepest fears that had been aroused. Jessie began to remember the past again. When she was 12 years old, her family went on a beach vacation to watch the total eclipse. Since she did not like riding in the boat, her dad stayed on the shore with her while her pregnant mom took her younger brothers and sisters to play. While watching the total eclipse, Jessie's dad let Jessie sit on his lap. Looking at Jessie's body, his thought wandered. Eventually he started jerking off. That night, instead of apologizing or confessing, her dad brainwashed her with guidance, thus making Jessie beg him not to tell anyone about what happened when the eclipse occurred. Her father put a pair of silent handcuffs on her, and the image of her father came crashing down in her mind. The next day her mother asked about the view of the eclipse, and Jessie guiltily broke a glass at the dinner table. Her mother vaguely sensed something but chose to bury it and did not ask. Jessie chose to remain silent, leading to the subsequent tragedy of her sister. The blood in her memory in turn gave Jessie inspiration. She thought of using blood as a lubricant to slip out of the handcuffs. Jessie broke the glass, stuck the broken glass in the partition to slit her wrists, and painfully pulled her hands out of the handcuffs. Then she dragged the bed to move and got the key. After unlocking the handcuffs, she found tampons to dress the wound. Jessie tried to get out, but she passed out. A few steps later, in the middle of the night, Jessie was bitten by the stray dog and saw the Moonlight Man again. Jessie took off her wedding ring and gave it to the Moonlight Man and wanted to get out. She tried to drive away from the place, but she gave out halfway. In a blur of consciousness, Jessie saw the solar eclipse that day again and the Moonlight Man. Eventually the car crashed into a tree. The sound of the crash woke up the neighborhood and Jessie was finally saved. Gerald's company did not want his death to be festered and spread, so Jessie was very cooperative and pretended to have memory loss in front of the press. She also received a large insurance settlement for the accidental death of her husband, but in her midnight dreams the ghostly figure of the Moonlight Man appeared every day. One day 6 months later, Jessie suddenly learned from the newspaper that the Moonlight Man who had appeared at that time turned out to be a mentally handicapped grave robber with acromegaly and had now been caught. Jessie decided not to run away anymore. She came to the trial and saw the Moonlight Man in her heart. Strangely, when Jessie chose to face her inner fears, the creepy father, the cheating husband, and the creepy Moonlight Man were no longer scary. It turns out that the silence and escape does not untie the knot. Only by taking the initiative to fight back can you control your own destiny. This is the end of the movie. I hope that everyone can, like the heroine, have the courage to face your inner fears and get out of the gloom of life. Alright, that is all for the video. Subscribe if you would like to see more videos like this. Thanks for your support. See you next time.